You know when you see a really tense situation unfold, and you just think, there has to be a better way to handle this. Well, today, we're going to break down a powerful communication strategy by looking at one single high-stakes street confrontation to see what we can learn.
And it all kicks off right here with a command. It's aggressive, it's confrontational, and it's all about asserting authority. This, right here, is the language of escalation.
But what if that approach is actually the worst way to go? Because hidden inside this messy conflict is a simple, repeatable playbook for turning a confrontation into a real connection.
So, let's set the stage here. The initial approach we're seeing is all about command and control. But as we're about to find out, that's a strategy that usually just makes things worse. It's basically like pouring gasoline on a fire.
I mean, listen to the language. It's all threats and ultimatums. I'm not telling you again. You got the countdown, a warning. This strategy isn't really about solving a problem. It's about forcing someone to comply, and that almost always just makes people dig their heels in. So right when the tension is at its absolute peak, a third person steps in and completely shifts the dynamic. And they don't do it with more force. Nope. They use a simple, kind of disarming phrase that becomes the pivot for everything that happens next.
And that's it. That's the pivot. Just notice the words he chose. Talk, our friend. The dynamic instantly flips from a two-way battle into a potential three-way conversation. The whole goal just changed from removal to understanding. And the difference between these two approaches is it's night and day. On one side, you've got shouting and commands that create distance. On the other, you have a calm invitation to talk that closes that distance, not just physically, but emotionally too. It sets the stage for a totally different outcome.
So how did he pull that off? It wasn't an accident. It was a really clear four-step strategy. Let's break down that de-escalation playbook. Just 4 simple tactics. You humanize, you acknowledge, you offer, and you connect. Let's take a look at how these build on each other one step at a time. Okay, this first step is maybe the most important one. You have to break through all the labels, vagrant, problem, threat, and find the actual person underneath. And the fastest way to do that? Just ask for a name. And boom, just like that, he's no longer just an obstacle, he's Herman, a person. And that simple act of saying, solid name, it's this small little affirmation that says, I see you and I respect you. It's a tiny move that starts to change the entire tone of the conversation.
The next step is all about empathy. It's about stepping outside of your own point of view for a second and just trying to see the world through their eyes. It shows you're actually paying attention to them.
So simple, right? But so effective. It's not an accusation or a judgment. It's just a shared observation. It's cold. This validates his experience. It says, I get why you're here under these heat lamps. It makes total sense.
All right, now for the real game changer. Instead of demanding something, you offer something. This just flips the entire power dynamic on its head. It's an act of generosity with zero strings attached, and it completely disarms the situation.
And notice, this is not a bribe. It's an act of service. The goal isn't just to get rid of Herman. It's to actually help him. Offering a hot coffee replaces the threat of removal and totally reframes the entire point of the interaction.
And the last piece of this playbook is to create a little shared moment, to build a bridge of trust, even if it's temporary, that makes the other person feel like an ally, not your enemy.
This last step is just brilliant. That's our little secret. With those 5 words, they're not on opposite sides anymore. They're like partners in a tiny conspiracy. This creates a bond that makes the suggestion to move feel more like friendly advice, not some order.
So what happens when you put all of this together? Well, you get a result that commands and threats could never, ever achieve. Let's look at the final outcome.
I mean, here you can see the two paths side by side. You've got command and control, which starts with an order and ends in resistance. But then you have connect and resolve, which starts with a question and invites cooperation. The real difference is seeing a person to be helped, not just a problem you need to remove.
And there it is. The playbook doesn't just get him to comply. It leads to gratitude. It leads to this moment of real human connection and maybe even a little bit of hope. The problem was solved, yeah, but it was solved with dignity, not force.
And the big takeaway here is that this isn't about being soft. It's about being smart. Empathy is not a weakness. It's a strategic and really powerful tool for actually solving problems and getting things done.
So it kind of leaves us with a final thought, right?
In our own conflicts, whether it's at work or at home, how often do we lead with demands instead of questions? This whole interaction shows us that sometimes the most powerful thing you can possibly do is just stop talking and start connecting.